We're Ashley and Ivan. For the last 10 years, we've worked as a husband and wife team in nonprofit and business.
We know both the joy and the tension that comes from working with your spouse. That's why we're so passionate about helping other Christian couples who lead and work together to turn tension into teamwork, communicate clearly, and lead as one.
Let's go on this journey together. Welcome to Life Duo Podcast. This is episode number 2, where we talk about 5 hidden reasons why couples struggle to work together.
And in this podcast, it's really going to help you turn tension into teamwork. It's going to help you communicate more clearly, yay, as well as really lead as one. And in the first podcast, we just shared a bit of our story. A lot of it just, hopefully you can learn from our mistakes and really share that, hey, there are other couples out there who love Jesus and feel this sense to really lead as one. So if that's you, you have this desire to lead alongside, whether it's in nonprofit, ministry, business, or maybe it's just a side hustle that you and your spouse are doing, you've found the right place. And we hope that what we have to share with you really will help you encourage one another and find hope and, just strength to continue to move on, as well as perhaps some practical skills where you guys can really strengthen your working relationship with one another. We found that, man, that's what we wish we had 10 years ago when we started this journey, is someone to really come alongside us and kind of show us what to expect and how to go about it. Because, we just assumed if we had a good marriage, then we'd naturally work with one another. But that isn't the case. And so there is a whole process of learning how to work with each other. And today we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive look at those 5 hidden reasons of why couples struggle to work with one another. The reason number 1 is actually that there's no clear process for how work gets done. And what does this mean? Well, let's just make it really practical. Say your lovely wife wants to repaint a room.
We maybe reorganize the furnitures a little bit too.
Yes. And so for me, I'll just make it personal. Say if Ashley came to me with that request or thought or idea, immediately I would start thinking, okay, we need to move the furniture out. We need to obviously tape and get everything ready so we can paint and get going. And maybe if I get started and start doing that, she would come to me like, what are you doing? Why are you moving it out? Well, you said we have to paint. But maybe you have a different process for what you're thinking of what it would be to repaint that room or redecorate it.
Maybe my process would be that, well, I have a thought as to what color I want, but I want you to go see it with me. Maybe we get the swatches, so we have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot. And then after that, I'm going to think about and plan in my head what would look good in the room with that color paint. And so I want to go to Home Goods and go shopping and maybe buy some decor. I mean, I might sound crazy. Some people might think that it's a bad idea, but maybe that's what I think. But I don't communicate this to Ivan, and we don't talk about, hey, what should be the step number 1 as to how we're going to paint this room and rearrange. And so I assume that he knows, so I don't communicate this, and we don't have a set way of doing things. I'm going to come to him and say, why are you doing that? Why are you taping the room? We don't even know what color we're going to do. We haven't even gone shopping for it, so stop.
Yep. And so that's a fun example and maybe a very real example. Hey, there is a way to talk about what is actually the process for how we get something done. And I think especially when it comes to people who like getting things done, that immediately we can just kind of hop in and start doing it and kind of figure it out along the way. But we found that if you pause, whether it's a project like repainting, redecorating the room, or maybe it's launching a new product with your business, or it's a new initiative in small groups or whatever it is with your ministry, that just to take that moment and to step back and say, hey, what are your expectations for how this thing gets done? And actually, if you can have the go-to framework for how you and your spouse get work done, it's going to make things so much cleaner because you already know, okay, when we're starting something new, here we are, we're right here. We've already agreed upon on this process and we just need to work our way through it. And so I hope that is translating for you guys as you think about work. Really, at the end of the day, what we're saying is don't assume with one another how work gets done, how something starts with maybe an idea all the way down to executing that. Okay, there's an idea of redecorating, repainting the room, all the way down to actually finishing it where you have done all of that. There are steps and each of you have a piece of the puzzle to bring to that. And it's so important for you to stop and discuss and really get on the same page around it.
Yeah, so simply put, Let's talk about how we're going to do this. Okay, by next week, we should finish all the paintings. It should all be dry by now. And then we would move the furnitures around and finish the decor by next Saturday. And so we kind of talked about the expectations, how things are going to get done, and then the deadlines, and then who's going to be doing it. And so it's clear as to what needs to happen from like this end of the point to the other end.
And so this kind of bleeds into number 2, which is there's no common wording or communication for the work setting. Having a shared communication and wording is going to help really remove a lot of that tension and miscommunication as you work with one another. And what we mean by that is once you have this framework, if you can turn that into common words that you know what kind of stage you're at. So maybe it's like idea dream stage where it's like, hey, I'm dreaming about redecorating the room. What do you think? And then you move into research phase. Okay, let's go and check out paints. How much is it? Is there sales? How do we want to go about it? And then there's the actual like prep stage. Then there's the doing stage, right? And so if I know what stage we're at and I know we have a shared language where I come to Ashley and I say, hey, I'm in idea dream stage right now of this room. Can you engage with me and work with me in that area? Then it sets the right expectation, which we know when you set the right expectation, it lessens opportunity for miscommunication, hurt, misunderstanding, and all those things we want. And so for us, what this looks like is we have language where I have lots of ideas. I could have like 10 and I'm really excited about all of them. But if I come to Ashley and I say, hey, I need you to discern with me. Let's have a discerning time where you come and I'm inviting you to poke holes and to question and to really assess, is this the right idea, and help me figure out which one is. We both have that language where we know that meeting will be very clear. Okay, this is what we're going about. Other times there's stuff where it's like a get or done meeting where actually I ask you, I say, hey, I know you are actually better at the lists and seeing what needs to get done, what needs to get finished off. Can you lead us and help me know what do we need to focus on right now? Because I could easily get excited about a new thing. And so 1 and 2 really do go hand in hand together.
I liken it to a altitude change. Let's say one person loves to dream and think about ideas and they're visionaries. And there are other people that are like workers and they want to finish things well and they want to put into practice what we just talked about. And so when these different people are in a meeting together, it's continuously going up and down the elevation. One person is dreaming and they're talking up here and the other person is down below 1,000 levels. It feels kind of like if we don't have a same framework or same language, we don't know exactly where we're at in terms of altitude. And so we're going to get sick.
Definitely. Which kind of leads us into hidden reason number 3.
Which is not understanding each other's working styles. And so it's kind of the same thing where I assume that my working style is the best working style. And
It's
so
pretty good.
it's pretty good. And if Ivan doesn't do it the way that I think is right, I'm going to be frustrated with him and I'm going to micromanage him. And actually, it's going to cause a lot of mistrust in our relationships. And so, I mean, we have a shared Google folder. It's crazy because he doesn't organize the way that I like to be
The
organized.
search
And
bar is my organization.
he has things everywhere. And so I was telling him that, hey, it makes no sense that you do it that way. And so I often try to fix him and try to make his process the way that it looks like my process, so then it makes sense for me. But then I realized that actually his process is completely different. I need to honor that. But how do we find a common ground where we can work together is me recognizing that, okay, his style is different than mine and that I need to be okay with it. But let's find a common place where you bring your stuff and I bring my stuff and figure out how we can best work together.
Yeah, because I think this is a really important one. Again, it's an assumption that you're going to be on the same page all the time, but really you approach things differently and you have different gifts and talents and you see things differently. And so really blending these two together is the sweet spot when you figure out, okay, how do we actually work? How do we approach work? I mean, you go a step deeper. What's my relationship with work? All of those types of things, because you're two different individuals, two different backgrounds, upbringings, all those things, to some degree, conviction and outview and perspective. And so understanding one another's working styles, if you can compound each of these, okay, we've got a framework for how work gets done. We have common language. Now, okay, my working style, I best am doing this thing, and I recognize that. Going back to the remodeling or the repainting, redesigning the room, if I know that your working style is, okay, let's start big picture and then work our way down versus me, I just want to get in there and get going and we'll figure it out. That already is going to help where I'm seeing, okay, let's start big picture. I'm going to hop in with you on the big picture stuff because that's, I think, the best place to start. As we work our way down, maybe it shifts more into my working style and you're able to kind of complement each other in that way. So that definitely flows into number 4.
Which is undefined roles and expectations, or AKA stepping on each other's toes. I think that happens very often. I think unmet expectations really come from unspoken expectations. Often just because I think this is the right way to go or this is what needs to get done doesn't mean that the other person understands that. That bleeds into any relationship, especially marriages, right? I mean, I clean my sink certain way, doesn't mean that Ivan cleans it that way. And then I get frustrated at him and say, why don't you clean the outer parts? If you're going to clean this part, you got to clean this part too. It's part of the same kitchen. But I don't actually say that to Ivan and I get frustrated. So obviously I have to let him know what my expectations are. And when you do X, Y, Z, this is what I'm expecting from you. That way he knows exactly what needs to happen and vice versa.
If you don't have clearly defined roles, it's like all of a sudden you agree, okay, this is what we need to do. And you start just going off in separate directions. So, okay, we need to redesign the room. Sweet. I'm going to start unpacking everything out of the room. You're already getting the keys to go to the car because you want to go research and look at stuff. So we're going in separate directions and it's a tug of war at that point. There's tension already. Or you feel like you need to do everything together, which is you don't have to do everything together. Actually, you shouldn't be working on everything. That is very inefficient and ineffective. So you need the sweet spot of figuring out with number 3, what are your working styles? And from that, who is actually best placed where in regards to responsibilities and roles. And that's the difference between 3 and 4. 3 is recognizing what is my working style. 4 is in our working relationship, is my working style the best? Is it aligned with my roles and responsibilities to the best that it can be? Obviously, with work, we're all going to do stuff we don't enjoy. But if majority of my role can be what I'm passionate, what I'm good at, and what I'm talented at, it's going to be better for both of us in that way. So I think this one, as you guys can see, it's all kind of coming together. That if you can have a framework for how work gets done, you have common language, you have a working style, and then roles and responsibilities that fit in your process of work getting done, dude, it's amazing. And that's how we're working now. And it has cut our tension, our miscommunication to very minimal. And it's produced so much more productivity, joy, and really being able to do what we sense.
I just remembered we're painting a room and Ivan's really good at the corners and the brush strokes. I'm really good at rollers. So then I would assign him, okay, Ivan, could you do the top part? And then so as he's finishing his drawing, I'm going there with the rollers. And so that's kind of the defined roles. Okay, Ivan, you do the taping and you do the paintbrush. I would go behind you and do the rollers and I would do a finished touch-ups. And so even simple as that, I realized that we do have assigned roles even when we paint together.
It's true.
And so, yeah.
So again, a lot of what we're sharing is don't assume, take some time to step back and look, reflect, assess individually together where you best fit and start making the appropriate adjustments within that. And that really brings us to number 5, which I believe is probably the foundation of it all. If you get this, it's kind of just a matter of time till you get the rest. Now, number 5, hidden reason why couples struggle is that we're competing with each other instead of celebrating each other. And this one is kind of gross, isn't it? It's like sometimes we don't want to talk about that we compete with our spouse because can be maybe a bit shameful or like honest, but we have definitely felt that. We have competed with one another. We have compared ourselves with one another. And now we're at a place where we get to celebrate and truly champion each other. And for me, where I see this, and you can share your thoughts too, but I think it comes down to your weaknesses and your spouse's strengths, which are usually opposite. Do you feel threatened by their strengths, which would be then competing? Or are you truly able to celebrate their strengths, seeing it as complementary to you? And man, that is so much easier to say than to do, because when you're very strong at follow through and finishing things through, and that's a weakness of mine, I can feel threatened by that because I feel like I need to prove something to you instead of seeing you as a collaboration of help me do this more. And it's humbling and really taking that low road. And I think if you can turn that into celebrating and being thankful for your spouse's strengths, you can really begin to switch that competing into celebrating. And it's easy to want to compete thinking, oh, I've got the better idea. I've got the better way. You know what you're talking about. I've researched this more. Like, man, it's so quick. We can get into that really fast, especially when it's just all about getting the work done. And we forget that we're working with our spouse. And that can cause a lot of tension.
Yeah, also, in addition to competition, I think what I struggled with working with Ivan was that I felt like I wasn't as good as Ivan with certain things. And so maybe perhaps not like following through or whatever, because I know I'm good at that. But in terms of communication, I often think that Ivan, you are better at communicating. He can make complicated things very simple and he communicates well. And so I would often just refer to him and say, hey, you do everything. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to be on a camera. Like, that's not my thing at all. And so I often would hide behind Ivan and in some ways not equally participating. And he would often say to me, we call ourselves live duo, but it feels like a live solo. I'm not pulling my weight because I am busy hiding behind Ivan. I think that really came from my insecurities, my fear. What will people think? You know, I don't know if I'm really good at what I do. And that means I'm not pulling my weight. I'm putting things on his shoulder that he shouldn't carry, something that I should have carried with him.
Yeah, it's easy to withdraw or withhold when you see your spouse and what they're good at and their strengths. And if you can't see it for yourself, the value that you bring to relationship, and that takes encouragement from your spouse, you need to hear it from God too. You need
Yeah.
to see what has God given you in this relationship, because nobody's got everything. And so being able to then turn that into one, you need to accept it. Like, wow, okay, this is what I bring to the table and I'm excited about it. These are things I'm passionate about. I'm not going to withhold. I'm not going to withdraw, but I'm also not going to die on the hill that I'm always right just because I'm gifted at this thing. I can be wrong, and carrying that heart of humility in it to really help one another and encourage each other. So if you are in that place where you feel like, oh man, maybe we're more competing than celebrating, just take a moment and look your spouse in the eyes and tell them what you're grateful for, who they are, what they do that really, yeah, that you can celebrate in work and in your marriage, and begin to just say, God, help me to see my spouse as someone who is complimenting me, and how can I compliment them with what we're doing together. And so these are the 5 hidden reasons. 1, what is your guys' expectations of how work gets done? Do you have a framework for that? 2, how can you find language that best puts that all together so you know where you're at in your stage of work? 3 would be figure out your working styles with one another. And in a moment, we'll share a great opportunity for you guys to do that. And then 4, where do you best fit in your roles and responsibility? What are your expectations of how you guys get stuff done together and who's doing what, so that you can both run independently but interdependently with one another as you work in your areas and then work with one another. And then lastly, really moving from competition to celebrating each other, which is more of that one's a little bit more heart than the others. And it's really, really important that we have that in our marriage. And so again, as you look at these, it's great to assess where you're at so that you can start to change them.
Yeah, so if you find yourself in any of these struggles, we are telling you that we've been through all of this, and sometimes we often go back to some of these struggles and we find ourselves continuously learning. And so you're in a good company with us. We all can get better together and learn from each other.
Yeah, there is a way forward. And there are things, as you can hear, that can shift to really make it smoother and more enjoyable to work with one another. We mentioned earlier that we wish someone would come alongside us and kind of show us how to do this thing and save us some heartache and pain. And we believe as you adopt these things, that's really going to help you do that as you work with each other and see your working relationship really change. And one thing that we wish we had actually about, gosh, I mean, at any point would have been amazing when we started working with each other, it's called the Working Genius Model by Pat Lencioni. It's essentially geared towards how do you figure out where you best work and what brings you most joy in your work. And then it's also for teams to figure out, wow, okay, so you're really good at that. You should do that. I'm really good at this. I'll focus on this and we'll help each other out. And man, I fell in love with it so much that for a birthday present, I asked to go through the certification process because I saw, man, teams and marriages, the same principles apply. That as a husband and wife team, wow, shocker, we should be adopting principles from teams that are thriving and doing well. And I saw that the Working Genius model really provides it. We've done it ourselves. It gives you all of these 5 things. It gives you a framework for how work gets done, common language. You see your working style. You can figure out then from there your roles and responsibilities. And it really helps you move into celebrating because you see your spouse for who they are in the working environment. We've led other couples through it. It's probably one of my most favorite things is seeing couples take the assessment, come together, and we talk with them. And they begin to see, oh my gosh, like it's like their eyes open up for the first time. It's very powerful. And so if that's something that you would like to hear more about, we'd love to get connected with you. There's a link below where we can get together, hear more about your story, how you're leading with one another. And if you'd like to pursue that, let us know. We'd be honored to just come alongside and help you in that way. And so that's what we got for episode number 2, the 5 hidden reasons. We expose them. You can start by naming them, begin to shift those in your working relationship. And we hope that if you've liked this content, that you'll subscribe and stick around. We would love for you to be on this journey.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see you in the next episode.